my channel. So as promised, we are here to do a Q&A about Miles's transition. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, recently we kind of, I guess, came out on my vlogging channel. Well, Miles came out as transgender, and so transitioning from female to male, he is FTM, and yeah, that kind of catches you up. So I thought real quick you could kind of go over a quick synopsis of your kind of transition process so far and where you are, and then we'll dive into the questions. You guys had some awesome questions. I asked you to leave them both on the vlog that that we kind of first came out on, and my last video on the main channel. So if you left any of the questions for us here, thank you so much, and we will get to them in a minute. But would you like to share your transition journey so far?
Transition journey?
Yeah.
Do I have to yell like you?
I prefer it, yeah. You're generally kind of hard to hear even on the vlog.
I mumble.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be even worse because my voice is lower.
Yeah, right?
So, I've been transitioning for about 2 months. I've been taking hormone replacement therapy. I've been doing hormone replacement therapy, which is taking testosterone to get rid of the estrogen. And I've been doing that for about 2 months, and my voice is definitely low. Over those 2 months, like, my voice is definitely lower.
You're starting to get some facial
Starting
hair.
to get, like, baby peach fuzz facial hair. Not, like, you can't see it unless you're, like, very, very close.
But even from here, I can see it. Like, I can, it's definitely there. It's starting to come in.
Yeah. My eyebrows have gotten more hair.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten thicker.
Yeah.
I think that and my voice and just an overall, like, there is some, like, fat redistribution that happens. Like, women generally tend to have, like, fat more, like, in their, love handles and stuff. And other places, too, it's a lot smaller. But, like, I mean, not a lot less, but, like, it's, even my face, like, just, there's, like, some redistribution, restructuring of, like, the look, my appearance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's just been taking weekly testosterone shots for the last just over 2 months. You just hit 2 months.
Yep, last week.
Yeah, last week. And we have come out to all of our family and friends, everyone in our life. It has become Facebook official. You are now Miles Rosner on Facebook, so it's really real.
Yeah, we have to do the name change, official name change.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
Workout.
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of brings you up to speed on where we are in this whole process. And yeah, you ready to dive into some questions?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so before starting, I really did want to quickly touch on, there were a couple of questions that we either tweaked or decided to completely not answer because it's about a topic that, for example, that we weren't comfortable with sharing with the internet, or it's just a little more personal and private. So if we didn't answer your question, I am very sorry, and it's probably for that reason, but we did try and, include as many as we felt comfortable with answering.
If we didn't answer your question because it was maybe just a little too personal, there's a ton of information about transitioning.
Yeah.
On YouTube. There's a ton of transgender YouTubers.
Again, I'll leave some linked in the description box if you're interested.
So if you're really that curious and we didn't answer the question, there are other YouTubers that are more comfortable with answering those questions, and they have there's probably somebody that answered it somewhere, so if you just do a quick Google search or search on YouTube, you can probably find the answer.
And I also did quickly want to say that we did not take offense to you asking the questions, and I don't want anyone to think that we were offended by any of the questions. It's just like, our family watches these videos, our kids will probably one day watch these videos, it's on the internet, and so it's just something we weren't comfortable with sharing with the World Wide Web. So anyways, let's dive on in. All right, so the first question for Miles is, how did you choose your name and how is it spelled?
It is spelled M-I-L-E-S.
That was a surprisingly frequently asked question.
Yeah,
I didn't think I'd get that question as much.
Yeah, and I chose it because I was born with the name Melissa, and a lot of my family used to call me Meliss, and just kind of like leave the A off. And
his old name was Melissa, in case you don't know.
I just said that I was born with the name Melissa.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
So I was
I guess I'm not listening.
No, you're not. I originally, when I started to start to think about what I wanted to change my name to, I did decide that I wanted to stick with the M. I'm a very indecisive person. If I had 26 letters in the alphabet, right?
So, yeah.
If I had 26 letters to, of names to choose from, like first letter names to choose from, I never would have picked the name. So I was like, all right, M. that narrows it down.
And we also
And
like
so-
being Eminem. And
Yeah, and we have a lot of wedding stuff that says Eminem, and so basically, you know, I had thought of a couple names, and Miles was definitely like a top runner. And then one day, when I was like thinking about it some more, you know, I was just thinking about my family and stuff, and you know, a lot of people in my family call me Melissa, and I was like, you know, it's kind of the same. Miles and Melissa, they're the same letters. And so Miles is just, you know, like the I and the E are kind of swapped.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So it's
Miles.
kind of
So
a nod
you know,
to your
and I
old
felt
name.
yeah, and it just was easy. I felt like it was an easy transition, and I liked the name. So
Yeah. I love his name so much. I was so happy that he ended up picking that one. It was definitely always my favorite out of the couple ideas that you had, you know, played with for a little bit.
yeah.
So yeah, I love his name. All right, and the next question, could you explain the process of transitioning? And I would like to start off by saying that there is no one way to transition.
I
Okay,
can say
you
that
got that?
stuff.
Okay.
I'm doing it.
Okay, then say it, go ahead.
So basically, yeah, I did learn, and I didn't learn this until after I started transitioning myself. So don't, you know, feel bad for thinking this.
Yeah, a lot of this
but-
is new for us.
So there is no like, you don't finish transitioning ever. I'm always going to be taking hormones forever for the rest of my life. I mean, I shouldn't say forever for the rest of my life. I might get to an age where I'm like, all right, I don't feel like doing this anymore once a week. So, you know, nobody ever fully finishes transitioning because of that kind of, you know, scenario. There are people that can feel like, you know, they have gotten far enough along in the transitioning process that, and you do eventually get far enough along in the transitioning process, like medically, that, you know, you can be...
Changes stop happening.
Yeah, changes stop
yeah.
happening. So basically, you know, you can get surgeries or you can not get surgeries, but there's no definitive, all right, I'm done transitioning.
Yeah, some trans people choose not to have surgeries, some choose not to have hormones, some choose
Yeah.
to do both, so...
Yeah. And the thing is, too, is that with transgender and being trans, it's a very broad spectrum. A lot of, like, non-binary people, which are just people that do not, like, non-binary means they just don't
Identify
with either gender. They just are very fluid with what their gender is, and they generally use they them pronouns instead of he him or she her.
Mhm.
That's hard to say. So yeah, to kind of wrap that up, there's no like, you never
There's no step
finish
1, step 2, step
yeah.
3, step 4. It's kind of
It's
just
never like, okay, I finally hit the last step. It's like,
you decide
you
what
decide
you
how
need.
much you want to do, and you can decide you want to, like, if you decide not to get a certain surgery, you can decide later on that you do want it now.
And
So
there's-
it's all how it's how you feel, and you know, if you feel like you're comfortable with, you know, where you're at.
Yeah, and so there are various options and avenues out there for people who want to transition, and some changes may be as simple as changing the way you dress, from wearing women's clothes to men's clothes or vice versa. There's also, like Miles said, there's, you know, hormone therapies, there's surgical therapies, there's, you know, changing your name and gender pronouns, and again, it's kind of, you know, depends on what each person individually, like, believes that they need in order to feel comfortable in their identified gender. Would you say that's correct?
Yep.
All right. Was it harder to originally come out as gay or as trans/straight?
It was definitely harder to come out as trans because when I came out as gay, I didn't really come out. So basically, you know, I had girlfriends and not really girlfriends. I had relationships with girls. And then I started dating Merrit, and Merrit and I, you know, were like
20.
more serious. Not what I was gonna
Okay.
say.
Sorry.
You're really failing at that like spousal like
Shush.
being able to read my mind thing right now. And finally one day my mom just kind of asked me, like, "Are you dating Merrit? Like, are you guys more than friends?"
And he was like basically living with me at this point.
Yeah. But to be fair, like, I kind of started hanging out with you, and we were just friends, and we kind of started like I just kind of never went home.
Yeah,
and then
like
we started
he
dating,
slept over and then just never left.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so my mom asked, and I said yeah, and then she kind of like told my family members because I'm a big chicken, and so I never really came out as like gay.
Yeah, you never had like a coming out.
Yeah, I never had like a coming out moment, but I did do it as being transgender because it's not as obvious. Especially because I was already dressing very masculine. Like, you know, I dressed in all men's clothes, and I have been since, you know, before I started dating Merrit. We've been together for almost 8 years, so I've already been dressing very masculine for a very long time, and so my family was very used to that. My hair was already short. So short of just starting testosterone
and shocking everyone with
everybody with like a deeper voice and facial hair, there was no way for me to like
not
subtly come out. Like, I hung around a girl for a while, and eventually my mom kind of realized, oh, maybe they're dating. Like, there's no subtle way to do it, and
I
so
think with trans, it requires action on other people's parts. Being gay, we're the only people really involved, but being trans and changing your name and pronouns, that requires you to ask other people to actively participate in your transition.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was definitely harder because I had to actually come out. All right. We're swapping back and forth, by the way. Merritt's reading questions for me. I'm reading questions for her.
Yeah, we have all of our questions written down on the little notebook here, and yeah.
Is this also something you will share with your children when they are old enough?
So we are going to take this approach with A, transitioning, and B, kind of with everything in life. And I mean, we're not going to wait to tell our kids. Like, it's not going to be some sort of like big secret, like, oh, dad is trans. It's kind of just going to be telling them their entire life. Like, they're just going to know. It's just going to be a fact of life.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they have questions about it, we're going to answer them openly and honestly, obviously age appropriately. But, you know, kind of the same way, like, you know, as how they're going to be created, because obviously we can't, you know, naturally have children, so we're going to need some intervention. And so we're pretty much just planning on constantly being open and honest with them from the get-go and not essentially lie to them by saying that you're cis, which cisgender, if you're unsure, is a person that identifies as the same gender as they were born with. So I'm cisgender. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're not really ever going to hide it with them. We're absolutely going to share it with them, and yeah. Would you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
All right. Next up, is Miles planning to only do top surgery?
For right now, yes.
Simple and to the point.
I mean, there's for now.
Yeah.
I mean, like I touched on earlier with, you know, the what was the question?
The process
The
of transitioning.
process of transitioning. I thought there was a question about
No.
when will you finish transitioning? How did we get into that? My goodness. I go off topic sometimes.
A little bit.
So yeah, I mean, eventually maybe I'll get something else. I mean, there's bottom surgery. There's some guys get hysterectomies.
But currently,
yeah. I just top surgery is the biggest thing, and it's partially what cued me realizing that I was transgender, was wanting it, because I've never really felt comfortable with my chest, even before I realized I was trans. So yeah,
that was kind of a no-brainer,
yeah.
Knowing that you wanted to do that.
Right now, yeah, just top surgery.
All right. How did your families take the news? Was it something they saw coming, or were they shocked? So would you like to answer that one first with your family?
Sure. My family wasn't like shocked. Some of them were like, you know, all right, you know, like obviously being already pretty masculine, it was not like shocking. Like, it wasn't like I, like, you know, wore dresses and makeup all the time and all of a sudden I was
it wouldn't be like me announcing I'm transitioning.
Yeah. You know, it's definitely like, it's taking some processing time. It's a, you know, it's a hard transition on any family, because how it's been explained to me is that, you know, basically I'm 28, my parents have known me as their daughter for 28 years, and now all of a sudden, you know, I'm changing my name, which is the name that they gave me. They gave me when I was born, and I'm changing, you know, my gender and what I look like and what I sound like, and that's just going to be hard.
Yeah.
There's no way around it, and nobody should ever, you know, feel bad for, like, you know.
It's kind of a feeling of loss. And because I've heard
It's
of
called
the
a
same...
grieving process.
Yeah.
It's called like a grieving period because basically you're kind of losing
who you thought your child was.
Yeah. And it's like you're losing a person because you almost become like a whole nother person once you are like far enough along in the transition process. And that person that you used to be is just gone. And there are some people that are very not touchy, but yeah, they can get very uncomfortable about like having their past selves brought up and their old name brought up, and even like having like pictures around of themselves when they were younger.
Pre-transition.
I don't really think that's gonna bother me. It doesn't bother me now. That might change in the future. I don't know, but as of now, like I'm always the type of person where I'm like, you know, everything that's happened in my life has gotten me to where I am now, and so I am not, like, I don't regret anything in my past.
Yeah.
So, you know, anyway, they weren't shocked, but it's definitely there's definitely some processing that has to be done, but everybody's very supportive. I have not run into anybody in my family, extended family, or otherwise at work that has had anything negative to say. I've only gotten, like, positive feedback.
We're extremely lucky.
Yep.
And yeah, as far as my family, same kind of thing. I think they need less processing time because again, it's not their own actual child, so they can easily just be purely excited and, you know, supportive without, you know, feeling like that loss of a connection of a person that they, you know, raised.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my family again has been nothing but excited and supportive. I don't really know if they were shocked. Again, it's the same deal.
I don't think your parents were shocked at all.
No, yeah.
I don't know about your extended family because we haven't actually seen them since they've been told, but like...
And you haven't, like, met them, you know, a ton of times.
Yeah,
so,
but like your parents were definitely like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, it's not, you know, revolutionary.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was saying with that.
Revolutionary?
Yeah.
Right.
A revelation. It was not a, you know, big old revelation.
Yeah.
All right. Next, are your families happy for you and supportive? I think that's kind of the same question. We've covered that. Yes, very, very happy, very supportive.
There's something I was going to say. Something else I was going to add, and I can't remember what it was.
Sorry.
All right, next question. Could Merrit use Miles's egg for a child?
Yes, I theoretically could. So this is something that we've always kind of talked about and considered and planned to use one of his eggs at some point. This was, I mean, even before you started transitioning or knew you were trans. It was kind of, you know, we knew it was an option we could take, you know, harvesting one of Miles's eggs, implanting it in my uterus, and me actually physically carrying the child. However, since Miles has started testosterone, it's not possible to harvest an egg while he is on testosterone. So if we decide that is something that is, you know, important enough for us that we want to pursue, he would have to stop taking testosterone for a period of time in order to harvest that egg.
And I would have to take whatever when they do it with a regular, like, female.
So yeah, he would end up having to take, fertility hormones.
Yeah.
So essentially the opposite of what testosterone is, you know, affecting his body as. So that's something that we haven't really officially decided what we're doing one way or another.
I see a therapist because eventually to get top surgery, you have to get a letter.
It's basically required to see a therapist.
So we actually talked about that this week because since Merrit and I have been, you know, kind of talking about kids and whatever, and I kind of came to the conclusion, you know, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, I really would have to see how I felt after having our first kid and decide, okay, do I really feel the need to have a kid that's biologically mine in any way? And then we would kind of decide, you know, but I can't really make that decision, and because I definitely and I feel like anybody in any situation, whether you're male and female and you can make a baby the old-fashioned way, you know.
It's a feeling you've never had to experience or contemplate.
Well, so what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, anybody that has to make a kid that is in one way not biologically both both partners' kid, it's hard to come to terms with that. Like,
Yeah.
no matter who you are. And so,
Because humans have a biological drive to
Yeah.
want that.
and so I need to see how I'm going to feel. Because Merrit did ask me, she brought up, she goes, well, I've always been interested in adopting a kid.
I, as in Miles. has
Yeah.
been. Yeah.
And, Merrit was like, well, if we ever adopt a kid, will you feel like that kid's any less yours just because they're adopted? And I was like, well, no, because I wouldn't. But, so I might, we might have our first kid and I might be like, you know what, I'm fine. Like,
Yeah.
this is my kid, and that's how I feel about it. So,
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we consider, that we have left open as a possibility in the future, but haven't made any concrete decisions on either way. But it's definitely a possibility.
All right, next question. We're going to speed this up because it's really hot in here. Does that mean you have to get a divorce from Melissa and marry Miles?
So, no, this does not mean that. So basically, essentially, as far as that is concerned,
I don't know if we'll have to get our marriage license changed.
I was
once have
actually
my name
wondering that
changed.
too. So yeah, basically Miles will have to get his name legally changed, and he will also have to get his gender marker changed to be considered legally Miles Rosner as a male.
Yep.
And that will not affect our marriage. However, I believe we might need to get our marriage license
So you can get your birth certificate done if you want. You don't have to. Basically, how it was explained to me was you were born as this person and then you changed your name and your gender. And so as long as you have the birth certificate and then the document saying you changed your name and your gender, there you go.
Yeah.
So I feel like the same thing would happen with our marriage license.
So the most because we got married as Merrit and Melissa, but
Yeah.
I would think the most that would happen, we definitely will not have to divorce. I would think the most that would happen is we would need to get our marriage license what's the word I'm looking for?
Process?
Reprocessed, like I want to say resubmitted, but the opposite of submitted.
We would have to get a new, we'd just get a
Yeah,
new
we would
one.
have to get a new one made with our new names.
Yeah.
So, or
But no,
his new name.
we don't have to get divorced.
Yeah. All right. Have you noticed Dakota reacting to the change, since dogs can theoretically smell hormones?
No.
Yeah. No.
She's a little stinker,
clueless.
as always.
Yeah, and I don't think she's
I
gonna
think
notice when I'm
she-
pregnant. She just.
I feel like she might, and I might be wrong. This might be all in my head. I feel like she does tend to get a little bit more kind of excited when I get home, just a little bit. And I feel like, because obviously, no offense to you or to define anything in our relationship, but I'm clearly the alpha male. And so I think
In a dog sense.
Yeah.
Not a
dog
personality sense.
Yeah. So I think she might notice a little
Yeah.
bit.
Well, because she's always
But
kind of.
there's been no drastic
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
I think she's responding to me a little bit more.
I don't think
have
she's
a
been.
deeper voice.
Exactly.
And,
I think the deeper voice would be the most
yeah.
effect that she has experienced. I don't know. Do your neighbors know about Miles and his transition?
Yep, and our neighbors are fantastic. And
We are
actually,
so
there's
lucky.
one set of neighbors we haven't told. It just really hasn't come up. But
Yeah, and they're not on Facebook, so we
Yeah.
kind of have to tell them in person. It just
Yeah.
hasn't happened yet.
But we've told our neighbors next door and across the street, and they're
They've
totally
told their
awesome.
kids.
And I am Mr. Miles, and oh my God, do I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Mr. Miles! Every time I get home, hi, Mr. Miles!
So yeah, they all know. They're all extremely supportive and excited. So yeah.
Yep.
Once Miles is fully transitioned, will you two be able to make a baby the old-fashioned way?
No.
Yeah, no. So once again, there is
If you're
no
not born
finished-
with something,
Yeah.
You cannot, there's no amount of yet.
The
I
most
mean, maybe in the
you can-
future they'll figure out how to do that, but
I feel like
if
the
you're not
most-
born with those parts,
Yeah.
you can get surgery done to simulate
Yeah.
those parts in some functions, but that function, no. It's
And I think the most we can hope for is to still, at some point in the future, with science progressing the way it currently is, the most we can hope for is to be able to one day use both of our DNA to create a child. However, that would still require fertility treatments and scientific medical involvement. We would never just be able
It
to...
would still also involve the male end of things.
Yeah, exactly. It would be a three people's DNA combining using both of ours and a third party's rather than just, say mine and a third party's.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's kind of the answer to that, I hope.
All right, next question. How does Miles' transition affect Merritt's sexuality?
It doesn't really, to be honest. I never really identified as a lesbian, and I never really have kind of straight out said what my sexuality is, just because honestly labels aren't really that important to me, and they never really have been. Even before Miles started transitioning, I would always say that I just fell in love with at the time her, and that's all it really mattered to me. So if I had to put a label on it, I have kind of decided in the last year-ish or so that I would probably identify most closely with pansexual, because instead of bisexual, which I feel like more dictates that you are exclusively, attracted to the both genders, male and female, but I feel like that kind of is...
Since gender is such a broad spectrum, like there's so much more than just male and female.
Exactly. I feel like bisexual kind of limits that to I am attracted to biological men and biological female, whereas pansexual, it speaks more to being attracted to the person.
Yeah.
And the gender and physical attributes just don't really matter. And so, again, I don't strongly identify with any label because I don't feel the need to, but if I had to pin down a label, that would probably be it. So once again, his transition really doesn't matter. I married him, I love him, that's all I care about. Yes, you are.
Last question.
Miles, how did you know for sure you were a man? Do you have any suggestions for someone who thinks they may be trans?
So, basically the biggest tipping off point for me was Merritt and I started talking about having kids, and it kind of clicked with me that whenever I thought about having my own kids, in my mind, the picture that I saw, I was a male. I had a male chest, and one of the biggest things that Merritt and I have talked about, because I've always had a little bit of uncomfortableness with the fact that I can't take part in having a kid, I could, but we used one of my eggs, but so
Merritt typical.
Yeah, Merritt was basically okay, so a lot of things that fathers do are the skin-to-skin contact right when the baby's born, and
to make that connection and bond.
Yeah, so basically, I thought about that, and I was like, I don't want to have a female chest when I do that. I want a male chest, and I thought about it more, and then I saw some a BBC video on Facebook about a guy that was trans, and he was talking about the transition and his feelings and why he transitioned, and I really related to it. And then I kind of started looking more into what transgender was, and I started realizing more and more I've been having these feelings of being transgender, not being the right gender, not being born the right gender my whole life, but I didn't know what it was to put a label on it until I kind of started figuring this out, 8 months ago. It was October last year.
Yeah.
So, wow, did I do that math right?
Yeah.
8 years ago? It's July.
9.
That's pretty close though. I'm bad with numbers, so that's pretty close for me. So, I just really kind of was wow, okay, so I've had, feeling, I've always kind of been uncomfortable with my chest, and that was, and I was always a tomboy. I never did makeup, and I hated wearing dresses and skirts, and I would do it, and I had a boyfriend or two in school because that's what you're supposed to do. But the older I got, I realized I didn't fall into that, and I didn't like that, and so I'm blanking on a lot of stuff right now, all feelings that I've had, but I just always
didn't identify as a woman.
Yeah, I didn't. And I remember being a little kid and wondering why I couldn't go to the bathroom standing up, or supposedly my dad told me a story that I drew myself a beard with a nice blue permanent marker one day.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely used to pretend to shave my face sometimes. it's just small stuff that you start to like remember and notice once you really start to like think about this and contemplate, like, is this me? Am I like leaving it big out?
No, I would just kind of say, like, there's not ever going to be a definitive, like, I feel like you kind of struggled with this too. There's no definitive answer, like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
I am trans, period. Some people may have that experience, but some people may not. And I think you definitely really struggled, like, oh, well, what if I'm not fully, I'm just kind of having, you know, these other issues, but I'm not actually trans. And so I think it's just kind of like, at least from an outsider's perspective, obviously the question to ask yourself is, will I be happier living as the other gender?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, do you have any other advice you want to offer to people who may be considering it? What did you find helpful when you were trying to figure out if you actually were?
YouTube.
Yeah.
There's so many trans YouTubers, so Merrit said she's going to put
Again,
some
yeah,
links
I'll
in
leave
the
some
in
of
the
our favorite
description,
ones. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, YouTube is just such an amazing resource.
And honestly, go see a therapist.
Yeah.
I found a therapist that specifically worked on, you know, with LGBT people and people questioning their gender identity. And I went and I talked to her and I was like, look, I think that this is how I feel, but I'm not positive. And she really helped me to, you know, decide, yeah, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, if you have the money to do that and you have the resources to do it.
Also, if you
Totally.
have an LGBT center near you, a lot will offer free counseling services. So definitely check your area to see if you have is that what they're
Baltimore.
called?
Yeah.
Yeah, just an LGBT
Yeah.
center that they provide.
I don't think
yeah.
Baltimore's is like that big, but
Yeah, but you know, it's a possible
Yeah.
resource for people, and I think they would still offer free counseling services because I would say Baltimore would be bigger than say a smaller town. Baltimore's still
yeah.
big. So,
I
yeah.
just have never really done much there.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that kind of wraps things up. Is there anything else?
I did start an Instagram that
Yes.
Merrit has mentioned in the vlog. It's a new Instagram. It's _MR Miles _. And it's basically an Instagram I'm going to be using aside from my personal Instagram. Because, like, my personal Instagram, like, I don't know, some people from, just, like, everybody follows me in my family.
It's just
blah, blah,
general
blah.
life Instagram.
Yeah, and so I just didn't want to start posting a bunch of stuff about me transitioning on there. So I made this new Instagram account specifically for that. Like, the first post that I did was I do my shots on Thursdays. So I did a post of me doing my shot and a voice comparison from before I started testosterone to being on it for 2 months. And I've also been doing like working out a lot because that is definitely have some body image dysphoria and feeling like I need to be, you know, more masculine looking. So I'm probably gonna be but I also enjoy working out. Like, I'm not like,
It's not like an unhealthy thing.
yeah.
It's a healthy
I enjoy
feeling
going to the
secure
gym,
and
too.
comfortable. Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna post like workouts and stuff on there too, and some like eating and meals and stuff. So if you want to follow that, if you have more questions, if you
Yeah.
are more
If you'd like to follow
curious,
his transition journey, yeah.
you can go follow that.
And again, that's linked in the description box of this video, and it's always linked in my vlog descriptions.
And now I am very, very hot.
Yeah, I think that's gonna wrap things up. I don't want this video to be too insanely long, but I did want to, make sure that we kind of thoroughly answered each and every one of your questions. So, yeah, again, I hope we answered all the questions. If you have more questions, leave them in the description or leave them in the comments below. We'll try and get to answer any additional questions that you have down there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a big old thumbs up for Miles, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.